And do we have a next slide? That's it. Okay, so we'll do this for another 10 minutes of questions. If you have some other questions, you're welcome to type them in, and I'll keep asking them. Drew, this is one for you. What will the spokes dogs do?
Speak, of course. We'll use the spokes dog as an icon for messages related to owning dogs in the city in those two neighborhoods, and for whatever spin-off we get citywide. So we'll take those. The spokes dog will appear in print material, in the media, printed media for sure. We'll look for the spokes dog perhaps to star in a video about how to properly manage your dog's wastes. I don't know. I'm just brainstorming here, but definitely as a mascot for our efforts around this topic.
Got it. Well, Wendy, we have a couple other questions for you. How do you manage this joint reporting? And in particular, does the state allow you to submit part of your reports jointly and part of your reports individually? And we had some people who were wondering what to say to a state that had previously allowed them to submit things jointly and is now not so happy about that.
Well, 3 questions in a row. How do we do it? We all submit our information on the database, which we can publicize that information for everybody to see. And we all make sure through our monthly meetings that we're all putting in our information. And so one person, either a consultant or a facilitator or whoever wants to take the lead, can summarize all of those in a report fashion, and we can submit them to DEP. And then, of course, everybody has projects that they do over and above their regular joint projects, and so each town or each member has an addendum that they'll send in separately to DEP. So DEP likes this because they don't have to read everything over and over and over again. That's all the same, but all they see in addition that's different is our individual projects. Can't remember the other question.
And one of them was, what would you say to a state that had previously approved joint reporting and that was not so happy about the joint reporting now, or was retracting those permissions?
Yeah, I guess the main thing is that it saves them time and energy because they don't have to read as many reports. So that's what our stormwater coordinator is excited about. But I think that probably there may be a misunderstanding on the format of the reporting on what information they're looking for. Maybe that's why they changed their minds on how they would have it submitted. So I would make sure that you sit down and really have a good discussion and an understanding of exactly what they want to see in that report. We've done that with our regional groups on many occasions with our state DEP.
Got it. That's good advice. And Matt, a question for you. With these turbidity measurements, what ranges of turbidity are you measuring, and what are you doing with the turbidity measurements that your volunteers get?
Okay, I guess I'll answer the second one first. As far as the turbidity measurements, most of the turbidity readings are actually being collected in-house right now, and we have, I think, around 30 to 40 monitoring sites right now, and those are typically strategically located downstream of construction sites. And usually what we use here in the city of Auburn, as well as in the state, is if there's a visual contrast from upstream to downstream of a construction site, or if there is a 50 NTU increase from upstream to downstream of a site, then that site would be considered in violation. So if we see that, if we see a substantial visual contrast downstream of a construction site, or if we see a 50 NTU jump from upstream to downstream of the site, then we go in and start looking at that construction site, and we start trying to look and see if they're having problems with their BMPs that are installed on the project, and if so, you know, if it's an issue where we need to go in and send them a notice to get something corrected, or to get their engineer involved to look at a different type of BMP measure, then we do that. As far as the data we take from individual monitoring groups, a lot of times most of the monitoring we see from our citizen groups right now is actual fecal coliform monitoring. They're doing what they call bacteria blitzes around town, and they go and collect numerous bacteria samples from local streams, and a lot of times when we use that data, if there is a site here in the city of Auburn where we think there's potentially an issue, I know in the past we've used that data to help us find sanitary sewer overflows, you know, potentially cross connections of sanitary and storm drains, things of that nature. So it's more or less using their data to help us go out and find potential problem areas.
Yeah, that sounds like valuable notification. At this point, I'd like to sort of turn the questions to the panelists to see if you have either comments or questions for each other. I don't know, Marlou, you have an overview here. You might have some questions or comments on the other presentations.
Well, actually, one of the questions I'd like to maybe comment on, there was the question about whether your watershed group or your multi-municipal group needs to be official. And Wendy's points were all valid as far as getting the support and all of that. But one of the other things is that I do see that there are unofficial groups that get together where you actually have informal meetings where you share information. I mean, that can be done. Sometimes you will use a third party together. You belong to maybe a watershed association, and the watershed association is helping you. So there's a lot of different varying levels of formality. The one thing that I would point out, though, is that even if you don't do a joint submittal of your permit, most permits actually ask if you do have any partnerships, and you need to, you know, say that you do if in fact you do. And a lot of people who have done that in the past haven't really had a written MOU between them, and that's just a word of caution where I've seen some people who have actually, I mean, they've done the work, and so that's a good thing, but legally, if you're saying on your permit that you're actually having somebody else as a partner in providing the services required, you really are supposed to have a legal MOU. So there's a lot of varying degrees. It just really depends on how you're using that partnership, but it never hurts to talk to your neighbor and see where you can combine some resources to reduce your costs.
Great. Wendy, do you have any comments on the other presentations or questions?
No, I think that there's a lot of great ideas. I've been writing them down all along. One of our next targets is probably dog owners, and certainly Drew's ideas are great. And the turbidity meters up before and after projects are another great idea. So I just think it's been a great presentation.
Great. Matt, do you have concluding or meta comments?
No, I don't think so. Like Wendy, I've been busy writing down some ideas from the other presenters for my program as well. So it's been very beneficial for me.
And Drew, anything from you?
Just two things. First, for Matt, I loved his idea of having the kids design the storm drain markers for the city. We can fit that right into what we're doing already. That's a great idea. And there was a question for someone about how do you know the public's interests? And it occurred to me that I can think of a couple of campaigns where we had to actually help the public realize its interests in certain issues. They didn't really. They may not have realized that they had an interest in a certain problem. So we went about defining that for them, and then lo and behold, it was actually successful. People started to realize that they needed to pay attention to this problem. So sometimes you have to do that. But sometimes the public doesn't know what its interests are.
Got it. All right. So we'll wrap things up now. There have been a lot of questions about two technical topics. We will mail you some version of the slides that you can have as a reference, and we will also mail you instructions for getting your PDHs or CEUs if they are applicable in your state. And if we can just switch to that last slide with things to look forward to. Between the Stormwater Report and our September webinar and our October workshop, the PCOC has a lot of things for you to look forward to, and we look forward to seeing you at all of those events. So thanks for participating today. And also, there have been some other questions. We'll email you. If you had other questions that didn't get answered, you can email us or we'll email you. We'll take care of that. And as I said, we look forward to seeing you at these other events. So thanks for attending today.